right, let's do this. So, grabbing your foam roller. I've got my long 36-inch foam roller. So that way, if we lay vertical on it, it will fit tailbone to top of the head for the most part, depending on how tall you are. You can use the short ones, especially when we're doing leg stretches and rolling and opening up the leg, even like across the back. But it's always nice to have a really long one in hand when you want to do vertical stuff for like floor angels, chest opener stuff, and then some of the core work that we did. So let's start, guys, with opening up and stretching. We haven't done a lot of the foam roll stretching the last couple foam roll classes, so we'll get back into a little bit of that today. So I'm going to start, I always like to start at the lower leg. It's the hardest on your arms and your shoulders to support yourself, and you can do it with 2 legs on or with 1 leg on, which means your posting leg gets to help support the weight of your body. So I'm going to start with just 1 leg on. I'm going to push up nice and strong and pull the top of the foot back towards the shin and then roll towards the mid-calf and then back down towards the ankle. And I'm using my right leg. Right now I've got left leg on, right leg off. I'm using my right leg to help support my body weight and guide me forward and back. Now, depending on your range of motion in your shoulders and also how tall you are, you may have to do this in segments where you roll the bottom half of your leg, of your lower leg, and then the top half. Always, always stay away from the knee crease, from the back of the knee. There's not a lot of musculature back there. There's a lot of vascularity, and you don't want to get yourself into trouble by rolling the back of your knee. So 3 to 4 finger widths from the crease where you feel those tendinous junctions at the corner there behind the knee is where you want to stop. The one nice thing about doing single leg is that you can twist and rotate the leg so you can get both sides of the calf muscle, because the gastroc has 2 heads. It's got 2 pieces of that muscle that connect the back of the leg. So you can look for those adhesions, and if you find one, you can move through them and kind of roll around on them. I'm going to switch over to the right leg and setting up down by the ankle. I'm going to flex at the ankle to draw the foot back towards the shin, and then again I'm going to roll up the back of the lower leg, depending on, again, shoulder range of motion, core stability, how long your leg is. You may have to do this in segments. And the other nice thing about doing single leg versus double legs on is that you can really get a sense for which leg is tighter than the other. Where are those adhesions located, right and left? Maybe they're in different spots. Maybe it's outside of one leg, inside of the other leg. So you can target and pay more attention to those imbalances and spend more time in the areas that need it and on the sides that need it. We'll rest the hips down. I'm going to go both legs on, pulling the foot back towards the shin, pressing up, taking the shrug out, and then rolling back and forth. So again, this is a harder movement to do with both legs on. It's definitely an arm and a shoulder workout. You're using your core to help support you. I'm going to move up the back of the leg. Again, I'm staying away from the back of the knee. And you can use all kinds of other tools, like the peanut tool, which I really like. We used to make them long time ago, 2 lacrosse balls taped together, but you can buy them now on Amazon for probably $15. And they look like a peanut in a peanut shell. And they're great for really opening up tissue. They're much harder, not as soft and forgiving as the foam roller. So I'm going to go back and forth between legs and back, mostly because I want to give my hands and my arms and my shoulders a bit of a rest. So I'm going to move the foam roller to the back of the hips, across the sacrum, right there at the low back. And I'm going to plant my feet to the mat. Hips are anchored to the floor as well. And then I'm going to hold on to my legs when I work into that low back, and I'm going to pivot and hinge back over that foam roller, dropping back as far as you feel comfortable, and then using those abdominal muscles to help pull you back up. And I'm going to work this pivot. Don't worry about how far you can or can't go. We just want to pivot and kind of fold and mold ourselves back over that roller. I'm going to move the roller up an inch or 2 and begin to hinge back. Keeping your hips and your feet connected to the mat as you pivot back over your roller, using your abdominals. Because the roller's up higher, you could transfer your hands behind your head to help with the return back up to that seated position to take the stress off of the neck. And engaging the abdominals on that return back to that upright position. And now I'm going to roll the foam roller up. I'm pretty much at the base of the shoulder blade, right across the bra line. And because I'm up higher, I can move my arms out to a T position, drop back over the foam roller, opening up the chest, the underarm across the shoulder, and along the arms. And with control, you come back up. 2 to 3 pivots at each segment, at each spot on the back. And you're going to hit about 4 spots along the spine. Moving the foam roller right across the shoulder blades, right across rhomboids, below, just below the tops of the shoulders, and then hinging back and curling up. You could interlace your fingers, hands behind the head, and then drop back, arch back over the roller. Let the chest open. One more pivot. And then I'm going to move the roller up to the back of the neck, base of the skull. Right here, kind of resting the base of my head there on the foam roller. And head and neck are going to look over and to the right, like you're bringing your right ear onto the roller. And across the back of the neck, the base of the skull, and then over looking out to your left. Feel free to hold on to your roller if it's trying to slide or roll away. And moving from side to side. There's 2 small bones at the base of the skull, and I'm basically rolling from one bone to the other. There's a little bit of contact with the neck, but it's mostly there at the base of the head. One more side to side. And we'll curl up, and we're going to bring the foam roller back to the legs, and we're going to work the hamstring. As as we start working higher up the leg, it gets a lot easier. The lever arm's not as long. And again, you could do this with 1 or 2 legs. When you're doing 2 legs, I usually slide that foam roller out to the side. So that way, if I've got my right leg on, my left leg off, I've got space for the roller to roll and not run into my foot. We're staying off the back of the knee, and we're gonna roll from upper leg all the way up towards the hip and back towards the knee, staying just off the knee. So I'm going to hit the hamstring groups. Single leg is nice. You have more support from the leg that's not on the roller, but you can also create more rotation, and you can twist the leg a bit more from the hip for that leg that's on the roller as you move from side to side. Trying to keep the shoulders down, away from the head, away from the neck. So you're in that really strong gymnastics position, pushing up and away from the mat. And then I'll slide the foam roller across to the left, so I can work that single leg stretch at the left hamstring. Right knee is bent and on the mat. And then sliding yourself forward and back, using that right leg for support. And then I'm twisting that left leg from the hip. There's no twisting at the knee or the ankle. The lower half of the leg just kind of follows along with that rotation from the hip. Looking for those adhesions, looking for the differences between the right and the left leg. So if you want to, you can double up in areas that are tighter. And then I'll go both legs on, a little bit more body weight at the back of the leg, but much easier on the arms and the shoulders when you're working higher up the leg towards your center. A little bit harder to twist internal, external rotation from the hip when both legs are on. It's still doable. You just don't get as much movement. All right, we're going to move that foam roller to the back once again. We did our pivots on our last back stretch. Now we're going to roll. And again, we're going to work it in segments. So feet are down on the mat. When I'm working the lower half of my back, I usually like to hold on to my legs a little bit more. And lifting the hips up, I'm going to roll along the low back, maybe to the mid-ribs, to the bra line, and then down towards the sacrum. You go hands across the chest or hands behind the head. Hands higher as you're rolling and opening up through the low back is a little bit more challenging. And then I'm going to add a rotation. So I'm going to twist to my left side so I can roll along the left side of the back. And you can just kind of find an area where you can set your left arm down. I'm on the opposite side of the foam roller, so I've got some support now from the arm as I work up and down just the left side. So from the top of the hip up the low back towards kind of that 12th rib. So I'm getting that QL along the low back. And then setting the hips down, twisting onto the right. You can put your right elbow back for some support as you roll. And again, you're looking for those imbalances. Where are you feeling more tightness? And I'm going to center up. up. I can put my elbows down. If you've got good shoulder mobility, this is not uncomfortable on the front of the shoulder. It is a nice extra stretch. One more pass. And then we'll reset. We're moving the foam roller back to the lower half, and we're going to sit on top of the foam roller. So we can go into like our figure 4 stretch, our gentleman's pose. So I'm going to roll up the sacrum just a little bit. I'm going to work center for just a moment before adding that cross and that rotation to work one hip at a time. So I'm going to take my left foot, put my left foot on top of my right thigh, and then I'm going to rotate onto that left hip. So whichever foot is on the opposite leg, that is the hip that you are going to rotate onto. And you're moving up and down the left side of the hip. Foam rollers are great for this. If you have a chance to grab, it's a foam posture ball, about 5 inches in diameter. Looks just like a foam roller, but it's a ball, foam ball. Those are really great for hip openers because you can do circular motions, clockwise, counterclockwise, scooping. They're smaller. They're also nice to do it standing against a wall if you don't want to put your body weight on it, on the floor. We'll uncross the legs, and we'll go right leg crossed over the left, and then twisting onto that right hip. The leg that's on the mat, the foot that's on the mat, we want to make sure that that knee is lined up over the toes. It's very easy to add too much internal rotation of that posting leg. So you want to check the alignment, that as that left knee bends and goes forward, it's tracking over the center of the foot. Rolling from side to side, and let's come back to the center, and we'll go across the back of the hips. One more pass, and then we'll press the hips back down to the mat. Let's bring our foam roller up to the mid back now, starting right there at the bra line. So feet are lined up with your sit bones, and we're going to interlace our hands either behind our head or across the chest, and we'll pick our hips up, and we're going to roll mid-back to the top of the shoulder, letting your head and your chest fall back over that roller. Rolling along that center line. Hopefully getting a few adjustments along the spine as you roll up and down the roller. And then I'm going to roll onto my left side. We did low back, left side. Now I want to do mid, upper back, get into that lat a little bit more. So left arm is on the other side of the roller, on that elbow, and you're going to pick up. Not too much pressure on the elbow just because you need to get some movement. And you're going to roll basically from underarm down the side of the rib cage, almost before you get to those last 2 ribs. And you're on the left side of your spine. Rolling along the lat. And we'll set ourselves back down and switch over to the right side. So a little bit of a rotation. That right elbow is down on the back side of the roller. And we're going to go from underarm down almost to those bottom 2 ribs. I'm going to scoot down as I keep Keep sliding off the table. You can work it with your elbow down or elbow up, depending on how much pressure you want to have on that lat. One more pass. And we're going to move now back to the lower leg, but we're going to go front of the leg now. So let's come to the knees, and we're going to go to a quadruped position, but our shins are going to be on top of the foam roller. So I'm going to be just below the knee. I'm going to scoot back a little bit more for more space. And your hands are going to be out in front of you, palms down. Arms are going to start right underneath the shoulders. And you're going to pull your knees and the foam roller towards your chest. So you're going to ankle, up the front of the shin to the knee. So we're getting not only that stretch along the front of the shin, but also a nice abdominal exercise. Straight, strong arms, good stability in the shoulders to support the movement. Two more passes. And then we'll move the roller to the thigh. Right there above the knee. And we're going to come down to the forearms. So a little less pressure on the hands and on the wrist. And we're going to go from right above the pubic bone, roll all the way back down towards the knee. Keeping your belly tight. Your core is active. You don't want to let your stomach sag towards the floor. That'll put too much pressure on your low back. Rolling up and down the front of the thigh. One or two more passes. And then we'll place the knees down. And we're going to go to a vertical position with the foam roller. Again, I want to give the arms and the shoulders a break. Try to go every other one so you've got a good time to recover and rest the arms and the shoulders. We're going to go vertical. And we're going to sit, this is where you want to have your longer roller. I'm going to sit tailbone at the bottom, knees are bent, feet are on the mat, and then curling back. Going head towards the top of the roller. Arms are reaching down nice and long towards your feet by your hips. And I want you to tilt your hips back, imprint the low back, flat against the mat. And then you'll articulate back towards the tailbone. You can arch and extend the spine, add a little rib flare, roll the shoulder blades back and around into the roller. And then hips tilt back, drawing the belly to the back. And we'll go into extension one more time. You can do this next arm and shoulder chest stretch with or without the pelvic tilt. So if you need to stay away from lumbar flexion, you can stay in a neutral spine. Otherwise, I'm going to have as much contact of my back, of my spine, along the foam roller as I can. I'm going to reach the arms long, flip the arms to go palms up towards the ceiling. And again, I want to keep contact up the spine on the roller, and arms start to slowly open out to that T position, not letting any pieces of the back lift up off of the roller. And then you pause when you hit those tight spots where you can't move the arms any further. And we hold here and just breathe into that stretch. Let the chest open and stretch. Feel that opening and lengthening at the shoulder along the arm. And then try to move the arms up a little bit further. Knitting the ribs in, pulling your belly to your back. Keeping the neck nice and long, and then moving the arms up just a little bit more. Breathing into that stretch, reaching the arms out, lifting the arms a little bit higher if you can. And then slow to reset, bringing the arms down by the side of the body. Go back to a neutral spine if you were in flexion. And then extend, stretch and arch, flare the ribs, retract the shoulder blades back and into the roller. And then we're going to tilt the hips, imprint the low back onto the roller, back to neutral, arcing into extension. And hips tilt back, returning to that flexed position. And we'll go for one more arm opening. We're going to go palms up once again, like you're trying to grab the back of your heels with your fingertips, stretching and reaching the arms out as you move out and up to that T. Hopefully you're able to get a little bit farther than the first round before you have to pause and breathe into that stretch. Really actively reach the arms and stretch them away from your center, out of the shoulder. And every few breaths, try to move the arms a little bit farther. Still knitting the rib cage together. Feel the low back, keep contact with the roller. Neck is nice and long. And you could add a little movement when you hit those sticky spots, flossing and moving the arms a little bit, up and down, either along the floor or up towards the ceiling and out towards that T again, or if you're up at a Y position, to create some movement so we don't impinge any nerves. One more breath. And slow to reset. Carefully sliding yourself or rolling up off of the foam roller. We're going to work on the side of the upper leg. So from the knee up into the hip, so along the IT band, we want to hit VL, and we want to hit into the side of the hip at TFL as well. So this one, I'm going to have one leg on, one leg off. I'm going to start on my right side. And I want to straighten out that right leg. I'm on my hip. And then I'm going to cross my left leg, left foot over the right. I'm a little close to the top of the table, so I'm going to push up and roll my foam roller down towards my knee so I have more space to move. And then I'm using that top left leg to help support me, as well as my arms, my shoulders, and my core. I'm going to move along that foam roller from the knee all the way up to the side of the hip. Now again, you may have to do this in segments depending on your mobility, how long your leg is. So you could work just lower thigh. This is not the most comfortable stretch. Sometimes this one's nice to do with a smaller foam roller up against a wall. You could use the big one all the same, as long as you've got the space for it. And then you would just press the hip, the thigh against the roller, against the wall, and just sit down, squat down, moving up and down. I'm going to move that foam roller up into the side of the hip, and then really just work there at the side of the hip, coming down to my elbow, my forearm, to give my hand and my wrist a bit of a break, while I open up into the side of the hip. And then pushing back up, let's do one more pass along the side of the leg. All right, switching sides. Legs are straight, at least that bottom left leg is, and then the right leg is going to cross over the top. You could be on your hand, on your wrist, or on your forearm. And then we're going to move, again, up and down that leg. Depending on your spacing, your range of motion, you may want to do this in segments. Pick one half of the hip and the leg, and then do it in segments. Again, a nice asymmetrical stretch so we can target the tighter side. I'm going to move that roller down so I can work mid-thigh towards the knee. And then I'll come up into the side of the hip, coming down to the elbow and the forearm, just to roll along here. And again, looking for those differences between the left and the right side. Like this left hip, I can feel more adhesions, more discomfort, more of that tissue locked up than on the right side. So if your right side was tighter, feel free to switch back onto that right leg. It's always a good idea to spend a little bit more time on those tighter sides. And they could change over time, so it may not always be that one side. So you're always looking each time you're on a roller, every time you're stretching, to see truly where those imbalances are that day. I'm going to do one more pass along the leg. Feel free to switch back to the right side if you want to. And resting back to the mat. I'm going to go back to that vertical foam roller. Sitting once again, tailbone at the bottom. And curling back down to the mat, to the roller. Take your time for the setup so your tailbone's towards the bottom, your head is towards the top. And I'm going to make kind of that goalpost position with elbows bent, forearms and hands or fists are pointing towards the ceiling. And I've got this nice chest opening. Collarbone is spreading wide, the chest is open. You could do this with a little gap at the small of the back or add a little bit of flexion. And then we're going to externally rotate the arm at the shoulder. So we're going to twist the arm back as if we're going to press the back of the forearm and the back of the hand to the floor, to the mat. Holding for a breath or two, and then we come back up, forearms, hands pointing towards the ceiling. And then just about halfway, we're going to work just a little bit of internal rotation. Only about halfway. I don't want to fully internally rotate, so that will also shift the shoulder out of position. I just want to be moving the arm at the shoulder. External, hold for a breath or two. And then internal rotation, not as much as external. at least as far as the range that you're looking for. And then back to external. Opening through the chest, letting the collarbone spread wide. Feel yourself sinking into the roller. And you're just rotating the arm at the shoulder joint. So there shouldn't be much change across your shoulder girdle that's there on the roller. Nice smooth rotations. Taking your time, slowing down the pace so you can really feel how your body tries to shift to make it look like you got more movement. Rotating back into that external rotation. So palms are faced up towards the ceiling. I'm going to bend the elbows, bring the hands in by the ears, and then open the arms straight out to a T position. And then bending just at the elbow to bring the hands in, fingertips are pointing in towards the ears, and then opening back out to that T. Letting the chest really open, try not to overflare the ribs. And arms are going to come down by your side. We're going to make a fist, pointing the thumbs up towards the ceiling. Again, take a moment of breath to reset your back. You're either going to be in neutral or with that pelvic tilt, whichever you prefer. Arms are going to reach nice and long, and then right arm straight and long is going to come up, and then reach back overhead, trying to reach the thumb back and down for the mat above you. And then slow as the arm comes back down, keeping good tension in the arm, feeling the shoulder slide up and down the back, and we switch over to the left side. Reaching that arm out and up overhead, trying to find the mat. Being mindful that when you feel those restrictions on one side, that you're keeping your back connected to the roller, the ribs drawn in, maintaining that abdominal engagement. Don't worry so much about touching the mat with your hand. Focus on maintaining that good stability and alignment in your body and your torso. On that tighter side, you can hold for an extra breath before switching. Taking it nice and slow. Reaching the arm nice and long overhead. Feeling that stretch along the tricep into the underarm. Along the lat, across the chest. And we'll go one more each side. Or you could double up on that tighter side and just do two there. Last one on that left side. Arms reach down nice and long, down by your side. Let's bend the knees, place the feet flat. I'm going to work a pelvic curl. You could do this as a strict shoulder bridge. I'm going to tilt the hips back, imprint the low back, begin to scoop and peel and lift up into that bridge. And then I want you to open the chest. Open through the chest at the collarbone, spread wide, pull your shoulder blades down and back into the roller, and then articulate down, piece by piece, rolling along the back, all the way down across the sacrum, back towards the tailbone. Feeling each piece of your spine, if you're doing the articulation, make contact with the roller as you peel up and as you curl down. One more bridge, one more pelvic curl. And we'll curl and roll up. And we'll roll out the back one last time. We're going to move that roller horizontal across the back, resting your spine back against the roller. Knees are bent, feet are flat. If you're starting low on your spine, you can hold on to your legs or hands across your chest. We're going to pick the hips up and we're going to roll. You could do the full length of your back or work segments. You can move the arms as you roll along the roller. And then I'm going to pause right across the shoulder blades, drop the hips down, and then arc back. Drop the chest, the shoulders, the head and the neck back over the roller. Hands are supporting the head and the neck. And then exhale to fold and lift across the mid-ribs. And slow to arc back. Letting the chest open. And fold and lift. One more. And we'll curl up, coming up off of that foam roller. All right, guys. Awesome work today. Great job.